Is your hatred for your spouse greater than your love for your children? I say this because so many people today get divorced and they're willing to give up half of the lives of their children. Now, rationalize this any way you want, any way you can. When people get divorced, when people separate, they need to understand the trauma that they are inflicting on their children. I've talked about it again and again and again. You go from living with your children 24/7, having control over nearly all their decisions regarding them. You get to be with them good times and bad. But in bad marriages, spouses often choose just to leave. I say this because I get it. You all know me. I get the pain of wanting to leave. I left before, and I left my husband. We were apart for 4 years, but I had my children the entire time. And I have since, repented of that and asked the Lord to forgive me because it's what I did to them regarding their father. He was military and deployed and out to sea. So he didn't have a say so. I got to get them. So I didn't have that loss. My selfishness was kind of covered up because I didn't have that much to lose. I only lost the person that I didn't care about. But years later, as our marriage went up and down, before we figured things out, I was planning to leave my husband again. And in one conversation, my children, and I don't remember how old they were at the time, perhaps 14 and 11, I remember my oldest daughter said to me, "Oh, well, Gabrielle's probably going to go with you, so I'll go live with daddy." And I was stunned because until she said that, I was like, "You're going to live with daddy?" She's like, "Well, I mean, he's got to have someone too. I'd feel bad for him." And it stopped me in my tracks. My hatred for my husband was not greater than my love for my children because I wasn't willing to go a day without having them in my life. There was another family member I had once spoken to, and I remember saying, "Oh, I love my grandchildren, I think, more than their parents do." And another person said, "Well, I don't think that's possible. I can't, if I don't spend a day, a minute with my kids, my life is devastated." That same person left her spouse years later. So when she and I were talking about it, she had based her love of her children on the amount of time she spent with them. But then when she left her husband, she gave up half the time. So does that mean she didn't love them as much? Surely she did, but not more than she hated her husband because she still left him. I'm known for being brutally honest, but all I want to do every single time that I put out a video is to save a marriage, save a soul. And I'm going to be brutally honest about the things that so many people don't want to talk about because they're not politically correct to discuss those things. But in essence, that's exactly what we are doing. I know marriage is painful. I know. I left my husband once and was planning to leave him again. But it was that logically looking into what I would lose. Selfishly, I didn't think about what the kids would lose. I didn't want to lose any time with them, so I sucked it up. We persevered. We got more counselors. And praise God, here we are at 40 plus years, and we've never had a happier marriage. And there were several times in the middle that I wanted to quit. So many people, well, take it from one side, the people who are left, they are devastated because their children have been stolen from them for half of their time and they've had no say so. They'd be willing to work on their marriages and do whatever they could. And yet they have no say so because once one person makes the decision to leave, the American court system supports that person 100%. They have 0% chance of losing. Oh, you want to leave? Okay, you can leave, no matter who's at fault. But if you're the person who left, and again, don't accuse me of judgment. When I speak here macro, big picture, I've got to give the big picture. But when I talk to someone micro, one person at a time, and I hear their details, I have empathy and I work with people. But it still comes down to the fact that, do you hate your husband more than you love your kids? Because if you've left and you've divorced him, you can make any excuse you want. Now your kids have you only half of their lives. And there's a lot you're missing, depending on their ages. You might be missing the first tooth, the first day at school. You might be missing their first breakup. You might be missing all of the things that we parents think about as we give birth and plan our families. But it's okay, right? Because you don't have to be around their father. And you men aren't off the hooks either, because there's a lot of you that have left your wives. And for many of you, you've left for an affair partner. I understand that when you're having an affair, you are blind. You are blind. You are so into the 11 hormones that raise that are called the love cocktail, or in this case, the lust cocktail. It shows that you can't think logically. Absolutely. That I've done it before. Go into my book, The Super Couple, A Formula for Extreme Happiness in Marriage. I delineate the 11 hormones. Ones that says your risk taking is higher, your irritability when you're around your affair partner is nil, your oxytocin is up and you just want to cuddle, your vasopressin is up where you're hyper fixated on that one person. It means you're not thinking about your kids. I've known many, 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 many people who are having affairs and they're missing their kid's soccer game because they're in bed with their mistress or their mister. They're missing things, but they're so hyper fixated on that other person. That eventually wears off. I talked to a woman once, she's nearly 60 at this point, and she said, I remember back when I was having my affair. She said, my daughter was playing soccer and I missed her games because I was with this other man. She said, my daughter, years later, she doesn't even remember that. She was 5, 6, 7 years old at the time. She goes, but I'll never forget it. So we've got a lot of loss here. Your child misses time with you. And I hope to God you miss time with your child. Do you love them more than you hate your spouse? That you're not willing to work on your marriage? Or listening to what I'm saying? Can you seek God, the God of miracles? If he can change my marriage, he can change yours. He can change that person you currently hate. And another thing that always frustrated me is when people say, oh, my spouse was abusive towards me. So you're leaving your kids with him half the time? I hear that one so many times. It makes me angry. Oh, your spouse is abusive. So you just cut and run and your kids with them 50% of the time. Although they're not abusive towards them. Oh, but that's good. He or she's got such a good personality that they're abusive. And you're, instead of being there to protect them from this so-called abuse, you leave them alone and you go run do your own thing. Yeah, I guess you're seeing my anger. Not judging you. I almost made these same stupid decisions. At least I'm admitting them years later, and I don't claim any goodness out of myself. It was all by the grace of God that he opened my eyes and I saw what I'm begging you to see right now. Are you willing? Are you willing to say, Lord, I will take the hits. I will take the pain. I just don't want to give up any time of shaping my children's minds, being there and holding their hearts. Any opportunity to kiss their boo-boo, see them come home, watch their homework, do their laundry, watch them grow. Lord, help me to take the hits. And I'm not talking about physical hits. I'm talking about the pain of the nasty comments you get or the arguments you have and just the things, the mean things that unhappy couples say to each other. It's a rough place to be. I feel you. Man, I wanted to run so badly. So badly. But our God truly is the God of miracles. And all I had to do, and I could tell you about some other conversations I had with God over the time. There's several where I was like ready to run. I was like, God, I can't love this man. If you want me to love him, you got to put the love in my heart because I know you can do it. And God clearly said to me, good. Now get out of the way and let me do it. I've been waiting for you to say that. It's like no matter how much I wanted to run, my faith told me God was bigger. And he did exactly what I told him to do. He put love in my heart. He did something miraculous. He can do that for you too. I promise you. I promise you. Before I end, I dare you to ask any long-term couple. Go find a couple. Going to an anniversary of someone this weekend, been married 50 years. Ask them, did you ever go through devastation? Did you ever feel like leaving your spouse? How did you stick it out? Don't just say, did you ever go through bad times? Because they all go, oh, of course we did. They never tell you. Ask them, did you ever want to leave? And if they're willing to admit it, was there ever infidelity? And tell them, you don't have to tell me who it was, but how did you stick it out? A lot of times they'll tell you. If you still don't know how to do it, please, for the love of God and for the love of those precious children that you created together with that person you currently hate, for the love of those humans, give me a call, email me. Let's set something up. I'll help you find a way to turn your marriage around so that you don't desire every single day to leave. Your kids deserve more than that. The kingdom deserves more than that. The community around you, when they watch you work through your stuff, they'll be like, wow, never thought you guys could make it, but you did. It's only by God's grace. I'm here to help. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. Thanks for watching another informational Bacon Bit. And as always, remember to live your life sunny side up.